Fuck it, we're going to do it live.
We're
Do it live now.
Yeah.
Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Uh-oh.
And we get our musical interlude from Tom.
What do I have to do? What do I have to say? Yeah. What do I have to go through to make this bitch go away? Well, every morning that I get up, I see the news on the Twitter. They say that they have finally given up. Oh yeah, sources say she's a quitter. Oh yeah, but she destroyed my galaxy far, far away. And made Willow go far, far astray. Well, now she's gone giving Indy a Viking funeral. What's next, ladies and gentlemen? Is it Howard the Duck, the musical? Oh no, it's nothing taken, it's no one safe. Oh yeah, might as well give up, it's checkmate. I don't care what you say, you're such a liar. Kathleen Kennedy will never retire, yeah.
They will find a necromancer to animate her fucking corpse.
That's right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the one, the only, the original Midnight's Edge After Dark. That's right. We even were live before the morning show. Been doing this for so damn long now. So long. And Script Doctor has been doing it with me longer than anybody else on this panel here. So I want to thank you for that, my friend. And welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Doing well. Happy to be here. I can't believe I'm the veteran of this show. I remember when I was just the baby.
Yeah, it's like basically the anniversary at this point. I kind of quietly went by a little quietly, but not too quietly. It's only been a couple weeks over, so. But yeah, I was just thinking that the other day. It's like, holy crap, I've been doing this a long time. But thank you for being here. We're glad to have you.
Always happy to be here.
And we also have Mr. 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. How you doing?
Hello, sir. Happy to be here. Obviously, we got a movie that's going to be absolutely worthy, and then some of looks to be, well, ripped apart. And of course, we got some good news about the Not Man Netflix. So at least on my end, I find that to be, as far as I'm aware, that's
No Man
news. Yeah.
Should we call it No Man?
Yeah, No Man, Not Man.
He-Man, No Man.
Oh.
He-Man, He-Man, you're saying the same thing twice. Why not just call yourself Guy?
What?
You bumbling boob.
Nobody said boob better than Skeletor.
Boobs. I'm surrounded by boobs. I love boobs.
Is anything like you, bubble-headed booby?
Bubble-headed boob.
Yeah, he could come up with any form of way of. It's always just amazing. The Oh, speaking of boobs, we got Kara in the chat. She said it, not me. Well, I did say it, but
I was gonna say.
You know what's funny is that it's Alan Oppenheimer who is the voice of Skeletor, and apparently, I
Yes.
guess he's got a movie coming out.
does he really?
Man, he
Oppenheimer
created
by
some
Christopher
Oppenheimer.
Nolan.
Oh, that would be interesting. That'd be actually, I'd rather see a movie about him. To be honest with you.
It's all about him. People don't know that he had that other accomplishment way before.
It's all about
And
how
then
I
went into
came up
vo-
with the voice.
Right. Then he went into voice acting later.
Actually, he does a lot of voices on that show. Like most of the voices are done by like 3 guys and 1 chick. Yeah. So it's kind of funny like that. Kind of funny like that.
Wilson, wow.
But Carrie, yeah, if you want to hop in, let me know. I'll send you the link. But because we got some stuff to talk about here, as was said. But we also have CC Karaoke coming in from the mountains. Or are you below the mountains now?
Let's see.
I'm at the tree line, but
You're at the
glad
tree
to
line.
be here. Glad to be well. I went hiking up the mountain yesterday.
Can breathe, sort of.
Well, no, when you're hiking at 7,000 feet, it gets a little hard to breathe. And then I got hit by a snowstorm, and it was like just above zero, just above freezing.
Yeah, he's sitting here talking
And
about it. And I'm like, at first,
for God's sake.
I thought he was talking about like he couldn't breathe and like whatever. I'm like, oh, it's a snowstorm. What the frick are you getting a snowstorm for?
Well,
that high up in the mountains. In
I'm
Canada.
pretty high up,
yes.
surrounded by glaciers, and I was soaking wet, and I was like hiking down through the mud slick, trying not to fall off the mountain and
Jeez.
break bones.
Wow.
It was,
You got to drive a little
it.
further south.
I made
to
it,
see.
but it was probably it was a little rough.
Good Lord.
I honestly have no real clue where you're at. One of these days, CC, you're just gonna have to do like a snapshot of Canada and just kind of put a circle around roughly where you're at. So I have an idea.
I could probably do
did
that.
I think it's on Hoth.
Well, he's
It
in the
actually kind of
Rockies,
is.
right?
That's the thing. It's like
I was gonna say,
it's
are you
called-
near
it's
the
called the
Rockies?
ice
I know the
fields.
Rockies are, but yeah.
It's called the ice fields because it's
Okay.
literally literally snow and ice as far as you can see.
Why would you do that to yourself in Canada? We only get summer once every 3 years. You're still going up to winter.
Summer's all hot and sweaty, and there's mosquitoes, and there's crowds, families and screaming children and barking dogs, and all that stuff. It's like, I'll just, I'll skip it.
I just figured it out.
You did?
CC is Mr. Freeze.
Yes.
I mean, he was my favorite.
Oh crap!
Dude.
Everyone,
Yeah.
stay cool.
So cool. Cheers.
Caught you, you dirty bastard! I knew it. I had my
Hide the
suspicions.
dinosaurs. Hide the dinosaurs.
Where?
The
There's
ice age.
dinosaurs. Oh no!
Well, there are
Yes,
dinosaurs just a few hours to the
Remember, I have a
east of here.
dinosaur in the bat cave.
Hell yeah.
T-Rex.
Yeah, that's true.
I forgot. What is the story behind the T-Rex in the bat cave? I forgot.
Oh, I can't even remember.
I'm surprised
Actually,
Scribner-
I really don't.
Wait, what's going on? Sorry.
The T-Rex
T-Rex
that's in the Bat cave.
What
He
was the
just
story
one
behind
from
that?
one of his missions, and it's like this was
Yeah, I was trying to
in the
remember.
50s, but I can't remember now. I remember the
I
penny
can't
and
remember
the
either.
T-Rex.
That was from he got
Oh,
that in his late
50s,
40s,
yeah.
late 40s, early 50s. Yeah,
Oh yeah, somewhere up in there for sure.
I can't remember what it
but,
was. Yeah,
Yeah, can't remember. Just know it's been there forever. It
yeah.
had something to do with a penguin story, but man, I can't. You got me.
I can't remember. I know
No.
that the penny story was
Two-Face.
it was a two-faced caper, but not like the same one that you like, not the same one that was shown in the animated series, a very different one.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I could be misremembering that too. It's been forever, but
Well, there's also like a bank. There's also like a mint caper, right? So maybe it depends on which. Again, we're looking at. They did two different penny. No, was it 2 or 3 different penny stories because of all the work
Yes.
that they were doing in the late 50s, early 60s.
that's true.
Because this is the
I
thing.
can't
Like,
keep up with all
remember, the silver age of or the golden age of comics got a little mucky with their continuity.
I
Yeah,
want to
just a
be in
little
the
bit, huh?
golden age of condiments.
Who doesn't?
As long as there's
Right.
Whataburger spicy ketchup, I'm good on my condiments.
We know what Nick likes, spicy ketchup. Okay. I'm not putting that on my weenus, though, just so you know. Sooner or later, you got to pay the piper. That's all I'm saying. Also joining us tonight, last but definitely not least, breaking some rocks. How you doing, Clobbering Times?
Oh, doing great, buddy. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here with this great bunch of friends on the panel and the amazing chat. Hello there, chat, my dear buddies. Great to see you here tonight. Let's have some fun because
Glad to have you.
on Tuesday night. Tuesdays should not even exist. We should not have to exist on Tuesdays, but since we
know what?
let's geek out and have fun.
I've always loved Tuesdays because they were movie day.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. That's true. That's true.
New release.
$5 movie night. I like the $5 movie night.
It works. I was just going
about
by
good movies.
What the 11th Doctor said once is Tuesdays are rubbish. But no, you guys are right.
And Nick, don't get too excited. The rocks that Clobby's breaking are orange. They're not the kind that you were thinking of.
Yes. I'll break
Yeah,
your rocks.
I know.
I only break
Not the
rocks.
kind that we're thinking of. No. He's talking about orange rocks. No, I'm just kidding.
Orange.
It was a cocaine joke.
I figured.
I know not of such things. I know not of such things.
No note of such things. Well, Jeremiah Hembry may or may not know of the such things, but he did see Sound of Freedom, and it was good.
It was.
He says.
I concur.
It's a great film. And it's breaking records of sorts, I guess. I guess you couldn't say records, but it's like
it's got consistencies going through.
It's keeping pace with Mission Impossible with 1,000 less theaters.
Yeah,
that's
great.
what I've been trying to say to people all weekend long. I know. We also
I gotta give them credit for that. I love seeing that movie like that of that magnitude succeed the way that it's doing. It's theater per average, like we were discussing on the Culture Show on Sunday night, is fantastic. That number is nothing to frown at. That's a number to take very seriously. That movie is making strides, and I think it has a potential of making 200 million domestically. It definitely has a shot.
That's pretty high, but we also have joining Kara. How are you doing, Miss Carolyn?
I'm doing all right. How's it going, guys?
Hey,
glad to have you.
Kara.
So suck in your guts, guys. We got
ladies here, guys. Watching your lives. Be cool.
Yes. Speaking of women, Nikki D says reviews for Barbie are now dropping. A critic named Doug Dilliman says if you take a tequila shot every time the word patriarchy is mentioned in the movie, you will die.
Wow.
Oh,
oh my goodness.
Shit.
Well, which characters are saying it? The good guys or the bad guys? That's a good context right there.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
defending
true.
it. I just want to know because remember, when bad guys say bad things, that's the fun. You want to hate against them.
Yes.
No,
if it's the
I
good
get your
guys,
point,
that's when you have to
Script.
groan and cringe.
That's a very benefit of the doubt, though. I'm gonna say.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I appreciate your benefit of the doubt, but oh boy, that does give me a bit of a concern for those who are looking forward to it because we were talking about that comics show yesterday. Culture and Nina are having a back and forth about it, and it was going in a decent, interesting direction about the movie. And now hearing this, I was just like, oh boy.
Well, we know from the trailers that Barbie gets arrested, so I'm wondering, will Mattel release an official jailbird Barbie?
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
That's the one
Cuffs and
thing that she
everything?
hasn't been in her entire lifetime.
Yeah. With a mugshot and cuffs and all that stuff.
Mugshot, maybe.
She could also like double as BDSM Barbie.
Yeah.
You're
not
going
the orange
that
whip,
way,
at
Tom.
least the
You
traditional
stop that
black
right
and white
there.
stripe. Yeah.
Oh my God, you sound just like Mikey.
Damn it, Tom.
Oh, that's weird.
Script has a good point though. The context is important, but that does sound like a lot of times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. If you like tequila, maybe it's a pro.
There you go.
I don't like the sound of that actually, but I'd heard some weird things. I tried to do some research today on it because there were some people saying something about Ken being the villain in the film, and then they dropped some clip today that actually kind of goes against that. Because it even has Will Ferrell saying like, "We don't give a crap about Ken." Like literally, he says that. Like, it's like,
oh yeah, because he's the president of Mattel in that movie, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So like, I'm not so sure how Ken can be the bad guy in this.
Maybe he wants people
Unless
to care
Ken
about
is
him.
the one that's holding Barbie back from unleashing her true potential because he's the man who runs Mattel. I hate sounding. I'm getting conspiratorial with that,
That
but
is
why
pretty
does that not
conspiratorial.
sound far fetched?
Well, because
2023?
maybe the only flaw is that Ken is the reason why Barbie can't hold down a job.
Oh.
See, I can't imagine that. I see at the end of this movie, I can't imagine them in any way trying to say that Barbie and Ken don't go together. Right? Because it feels to me like from what I'm saying, this is just my take from the trailers that I've seen so far. Barbie's having like her own personal crisis. Ken starts to have a crisis once Barbie is out of his life.
Because he's nothing without Barbie. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like this thing, this symbiotic thing, and I think by the end of the movie they have to come together and be together. Like that's kind of the whole point. But like, again, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I'm only going by the trailers. I've read a few things here and there. It's been pretty hush hush on a lot of fronts until now. So maybe we'll look into some of these reviews here since we have Kara. But first, before we do that, I want to get your opinion on this, Kara,
Ugh.
because I know you're looking forward to this.
Ugh.
That's the perfect. I love her. I love that, Kara. Kara, that's perfect. The perfect word for it.
I just
That brings me back to the
Feel
already
seen.
fan films on
Don't you
YouTube.
feel represented?
so
Don't you feel
represented.
represented?
So I was
Stunning and brave.
Ugh. So I have better form when I throw a punch than Miss Marvel does. And I don't even know how to properly throw a punch.
But wait, there's more.
But that's like her whole shtick is that it's just
That's an affliction for a lot of female actors, unfortunately.
yeah.
They're too stiff.
I just
Oh,
How
and
many
I'm
Carol
not
Danvers a
looking
different
forward to
costume
this
now,
at
huh?
all.
How
Like the
many
more I
Here we
videos
get
see of
some
did-
more.
the more I see of this, the less I want to watch it. And I was already at like a 1 out of 10 on the scale to want to watch it.
Yeah.
She looks angry.
I'm getting
And
closer
hangry.
and
Same
closer
thing she
to
had
like
the
a,
entire first
like
movie.
a 0.5.
What is this?
And like I say this as I was so excited about the Captain Marvel movie. I was one of those I was there opening day. Like I was one of those. I was super excited for Captain Marvel, and then I was just absolutely devastated by how they handled it.
Oh, ditto.
So
I was at the premiere. I was invited as a +1. And after that movie, I shouted into my voicemail for 45 minutes of how I would have made this movie better.
yeah, and I trust that you have more talent in your pinky finger than the writers on this have. Like it was rough.
I would have had one of the suggestions I made to myself was I would have had a full circle with regards to Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers being an inspiration for Carol Danvers joining the military.
Yeah, that would have made sense.
Yeah.
I remember Drinker did a good video on the Drinker fixes Captain Marvel, and there's some good ideas there too. I thought to myself, and it sucks because there's obviously what was even worse than the unlikability of Brie Larson's Carol Danvers was also a lot of the continuity that they changed just to justify this movie's
what they did to Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel, Carol
Annette Bening should never have been Marvel.
Nick Fury's
Yes.
Oh my! I saw all this stuff. I was like, really? You're
It
changing?
should have been Bill
everything
Pullman
just
as
to make this
Marvel.
movie exist?
Yeah, that works. If you were going to have an old Marvel, yeah, that
That would be it. And you don't make him the Supreme Intelligence or whatever. I keep forgetting what the Krees.
the Supreme War. That was so terrible. They
No,
made him
I
a
wanted to
Supreme-
see the giant head with all the tentacles.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
It would have been very cool. I missed another thing. How did I leave this out? When I started catching on that they're making the scrolls an allegory for immigration. Oh, dude,
Awful.
what a group of
I thought they never
super
would.
villains. And I should have seen it coming, but of course I did because I've grown up with the scrolls being very, very evil.
I mean,
And
the
then
Kree aren't
also,
even good either. Like that's the beauty of the Kree and the Skrulls. They're both really bad.
Yeah, no,
I
you're
love
right.
that part.
Yep. That's exactly right.
You guys want to watch this video?
Sure. Who are those people?
Okay, we're gonna listen to
survive.
3 hens cuckle with each other.
Having that transfer onto this set too, when everyone's like so much more older than me, it was like nice to be heard.
Oh, look at Brie.
We're really old. She loves to be like, oh, you guys are so old.
Speaking of looking old,
Oh, yeah, somebody's upset there.
We're like 30. Can you relax?
Oh, wow.
Such a You're old privilege too, working with sis. this many millennials.
Oh my
Okay,
god.
even though that clip was
For
crap,
Kamala, it's such a romanticized concept. Like,
Sorry.
I was
Go ahead.
gonna say really quick, I will give her credit. Iman Vellani, even though this movie looks like total shit, I will say she seems like she's the only one who's enthusiastic of at least wanting to be there.
I've never heard anything bad about her. Yeah.
And I've not heard anything bad about her as an actress. Well, I'm just saying, as far as she actually looks genuine, like she does like care about this, even though it looks like total crap. I will at least give her credit for looking like, okay, at least someone wants to be there. Like,
Well,
Brie,
yeah,
you
this
could
is this is her first and only role she's ever had. She's never done any acting before this, so she's very excited.
Well, she had the show. Yeah, she had the show, and that
yeah,
was
exactly.
It.
That's it. She never has done anything before this role. This role encompasses the show and this movie.
Yeah.
So
like,
I'll,
this is
I'll
the
give her
only
that
character
in
she's
that
ever
regard.
played, and she's essentially playing herself too. That's the other part.
Is she? Because I don't know what she's like. As a
Well,
Which
Iman
is fine
Vellani
by
is a
me,
huge
but
fangirl of Marvel Comics, and
yeah.
Kamala Khan is now a huge fangirl of basically the
Oh
Avengers.
yeah, for the future comic. Yeah, I heard about that. She's now going to be co-writing.
She is.
She's doing a limited series for
This girl is?
Marvel, where this girl's gonna be doing she's gonna be co-writing, of course, which means she'll probably lend a few ideas and.
It
and
might
then
be a
the
stunt.
actual writer.
It might be a stunt hire, meaning like, oh, we got the
Oh,
star
yeah,
of the
of course it
actor
is.
who's also co-writing a story.
They need to
but-
make this book legitimized because they've done so many volumes since 2014.
Oh,
They're probably just
with
consulting
this
with
character
her.
they've been relaunch. And if maybe you remember, I said a while back, it was the very first run of this character from 2014 through 15. That was around 19 issues. It had a decent run. It made enough fans at the time where there was at least an audience. Now, I wasn't personally ever into it, but I do know people who are reading it, checking out monthly. But then they, decided, no, we're going to cut this book off along with all the other books when they did another big Marvel event. And when they relaunched this particular book with the same writer, that's when those same people stopped reading. They also, as soon as they got to the second volume of the character, they said that they couldn't stand her character after that. So she had at least a decent audience. Like I said, not my book, but there was at least something there for people. And everyone started not being a fan of her because and what's funny, even though Captain Marvel's being the big hype, it was Miss Marvel who was actually outselling Captain Marvel. So she was outselling Carol Danvers' book.
Yeah.
Well, Kara, did you watch the show, Miss Marvel, or
No, I had zero interest in watching the show.
do you have interest in watching it knowing it's going to be on ABC?
No, that doesn't help at all.
Okay. Yeah, no, they're going to show all of the episodes in August for some reason instead of November. I'm wondering if they didn't schedule it and they couldn't move it or something script after they moved the movie. Because I almost feel like they always planned on showing the show on television to help push this movie. Because that show is basically a prequel to this movie at the end of the day.
Well, it's what is it? I think it's an 8-episode series, right?
Yeah, they're showing it over 2 nights. Yeah.
Wait, they're showing everything in 2 nights?
Yeah, they're showing 3 episodes in the first night and then the rest of the episodes another night. Yeah.
Weird.
They're fairly long episodes. They're not half hour.
Well, they're just
going by what it said.
It's showing them. You said ABC, or are they just dropping them on Disney Plus?
No, they're going to broadcast, but
wow,
that's a total.
Sorry, I was going to get it.
Episodes, and it's a total of 4 hours and 31 minutes. That's a lot to kind of cram in.
Yeah.
If they're doing 3 and 3, that's a 2 hour 15.
They're doing August 12th from 8 to 11 and August 5th.
Yeah,
so the 2
it's
Saturdays.
not one episode a week. They're not drawing.
When was it originally come out? Wasn't it the end of August? That almost feels like they were planning on this leading up to the weekend of it originally coming out.
It was supposed to be a Labor Day weekend movie, right?
Yep. So that would be exactly it. Yep. So this is what I'm wondering if they were contractually obligated to keep it there. They couldn't move the show then because they'd already sold the spots or something, perhaps, or something maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that makes no sense to show it in August when the movie don't come out till November. At least that's my guess on this. It's like whatever little buzz you're going to get from this is going to be gone by then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's maybe they're hoping for repeat views. I don't know how ABC works. I haven't had cable in like 10 years. Yeah, I'm not knowledgeable on how that stuff works. I'm just trying to guess like what is the optimistic angle, because I try to at least see what are they hoping to gain out of this if someone's trying to make sense of this? And that's the only thing that I could think of. Maybe
I don't really see it being on ABC actually helping them at all.
See,
I
that's
mean,
the thing
because
is
anybody who is going to be interested in watching the show would already have.
bingo.
Like, I think
It's gonna-
Yes,
I think there's more
true.
people. I think people are more likely to have like Disney Plus than they are to watch something on cable television right now.
Well, and this is actually
Yeah.
network television, Karen. That's just it. Nobody really watches network television compared to what they used to.
Yeah,
And I
unless you
think
live in the
you're-
Midwest. I mean,
Yeah, they're thinking of, okay, and this is the thing, and you're right, Kara. Like, their whole mindset is, we're gonna put this out there. People are gonna finally see this. They're gonna see how good it is. Then they're gonna go see the new movie. But
You think
what you're right is
they
it's not
get
going to help
money?
them, because at the end of the day, all it's going to do is fuel us, because it's going to give us numbers. And this show is going to end up being one of the lowest rated shows in the history of ABC,
well,
probably at the
for
end of the
starters,
day.
it's already being dropped on a Saturday night. That's not a huge time
Right.
to for broadcast, and the numbers might be comparable or maybe lower than what Star Trek Discovery had when they launched their first season on CBS after a couple of years of it being on CBS All Access.
And it's the second season, so if anyone is interested in it, when they drop, they go, "Wait a minute, this is not the beginning. There was a season before that." What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't see it helping, but did you guys want to EFAP this a little bit, or no?
Yeah,
You-
might as
sure,
well.
I don't know what they said.
She sees the Avengers, literally, or its mightiest heroes. You know, Captain Marvel, who's this cosmic lady fighting epic battles in space. Like, that's pretty awesome. And she's reading these comics and she's listening to such like grand stories about the heroes, and then she becomes one and she writes her own fan fiction. And so, like, yeah, I think for me, it was so much fun to play with that, because I was just like living that in real time.
Oh
Like,
my
going
God,
from
she
Miss
is
Marvel, and then
every
I'm like, oh my God, Brie
fucking
Larson,
Zoomer.
yeah, there it is.
I think it's an incredible metaphor with this of learning how to be in
I wrote my own fan fiction, and oh my God, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Jesus.
a team.
Better than
and
Brie
also like the
Larson.
very
Honestly, she's cuter than Brie Larson, but at this point, I'd rather listen to Brie Larson. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Ooh.
Shut up.
That's
Man,
harsh.
I don't know how I
And I
feel.
talk a lot.
Tom,
And
how
fast.
do you really feel?
Oh my, Kara, you know I talk a lot and fast. Did you hear this chick? So I know you
Yes, I
stepped
heard.
away for a
Learning how
minute.
to
Oh,
be-
sorry. Well, what'd you say?
I said, yes, I heard.
Okay. All right. Well, listen to Brie now.
in a team, and also like the very clear example that like no one person can do it all. Like the world does not become a better place by one person, certainly not one lady. So it's like,
Is she learning
Who
something?
says like more between
Well,
the two
We'll
of them?
find
like
out at the end of this
Brie Larson.
11-minute video. But
Yeah.
you're asking, is Brie Larson learning more? No, it seems like she's going back to where she was like before 21 Jump Street.
True. Okay. So she's regressing,
She's
but it's,
rebooting.
there you go.
like with that, you need all kinds of skill sets, all kinds of people with different viewpoints and different backgrounds in order to save the world. And so it just makes so much sense.
She
and
just
I think
doesn't
it's
seem
so
as
delightful,
narcissistic as she
I
had
think,
in the
to see.
past.
Well, they've been knocked
Is
down.
this
a peg.
Star Wars?
What the hell
Well,
are
that's
you
the
doing?
trailer that
Why
we-
is Saber?
Oh, I don't want to watch this.
So
No,
this,
it's
when is
Damn.
this part here takes place after Secret Invasion, or what?
I guess so.
Yeah, so not only do we have to see Miss Marvel, we have to watch Secret Invasion now
You
too.
don't have to, but I will. I have.
Evidently, we do.
I've been watching that crap for some reason.
Look, if I learned anything from Doctor Strange, Clobby, is that you gotta watch all this shit. You're gonna be lost at some point.
Oh yeah.
See, well, the thing is, the failure with them on that is they don't make it entertaining enough for you to have to watch it, like
True,
or want to
yes.
watch it. It's like
You
no,
force
if you
yourself
want
to
to just
watch
be
it.
informed, you gotta watch. It's like
Yeah. So I'm
I guess
guessing.
I just won't watch any of it.
Well,
Well,
that's a
it's-
good call there.
The whole
There you
gist
go.
of the continuity is it's supposed to stand well on its own, but you definitely benefit more if you happen to watch everything else. That's how it should be.
yeah,
It's
it's supposed to be
Exactly.
complimentary.
The movie on its own leg
Complimentary,
should come
yes.
first, and then the continuity to it is the big icing on the cake for the geeks and the continuity.
Well, as much
thing.
as I
That's how
hated
it should be.
Shield, they did it right at least. Shield was set up in a way that Shield could not affect the MCU. The MCU would obviously
Oh, yeah,
affect
you just-
Shield,
yeah.
but it could not affect that. That's how you do these things. They're just also rans or add-ons or whatever, like you said, script. It's the same thing with like, I hate it when I have to read a comic book or seek out a video on YouTube. I'm talking to you, Ridley Scott, or something else like that, where, you know, I've got to do some homework. You know, J.J. Abrams is another great example of some of these people making you have to do this homework to know what the hell's going on. And it's like, that's bullshit.
What's
Put it in the
even
movie.
worse, Tom, is
Exactly.
like when you look at a Doctor Strange, like I'm a good example you mentioned, the Doctor Strange sequel. It's not even a sequel to Doctor Strange. It's a sequel to WandaVision. It's a sequel more so to that. You need a little bit of Avengers Endgame. So it's barely a sequel to Doctor Strange. These movies that are now coming out, they're sequel to Disney Plus properties and other movies that you have to watch in order to, and the fact that you are absolutely like lost in tune with all this because you don't see anything, that's how you push an audience away. So that's where you start to say, here's how you push away the normies, because normies are not continuity freaks, and for the few that are, hey, shout out. But most of them, they're in there for the moment because they just want to kill time and maybe be entertained for 2 hours, and then they kind of check out, which that's fine. That's what normies do. That's what normies are gonna normie. That's how you can push them away, and then they're like, hey, bro, don't watch that, because now they made these things a homework assignment for all of them.
Speaking of pushing away, I do need to dip out to go have dinner.
Aw, well, we're so glad that you got to stop in for a little bit.
Easy, Kara.
We appreciate you being here, Kara. It's always fun to get to talk to you.
I missed
Thank
you on Toxic Femme last night, so I wanted to
I hope you're
in.
feeling better.
We'll
I know
see.
that's not a good thing, but all right. Well, you take care of yourself. Hopefully, hubby takes care of you. And anything you want to plug real quick before you head out?
No, you guys have fun. Guys,
All
stick
right.
around, press the like button, and I'll go give my dog a treat. Got it?
Get well soon.
That works for me.
There you go.
Yeah, get better soon.
Sadie
Thanks,
concurs.
guys. Yes. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Take care, Kara.
Bye.
All right, let's get back into this video here because I really don't want to.
It was a lot of wire work for Monica.
Is this really low? I'm
but
sorry.
It started, you start
I
that
can hear
training
well
on your
enough.
feet, and I had amazing stunt coordinators, and Andy and Maria, who helped give me the basics that I needed for core and just some of the fight stuff I had to do. They were really,
Can I
really
change
amazing.
the speed on this crap? There. Okay, sorry.
So there, and a lot of boxing. I got to do a lot of boxing and footwork, but essentially that was all so that I could go hang on some wires. And that is an entirely different beast than working out in the gym, prepping to even get there, and then the training you do on the mat and in the space with them. They're like, yeah, let's just hang you on the wire just so you can get a feel, and then but we're gonna focus on this other like fighting stuff.
The
And then
fuck
you get
kind of
to set, and
editing
you're
is
hanging
this?
on a wire for 14 hours, and you're like, I don't have the core, and my crotch hurts, and
Oh, they're on Zoom.
it was everything. It was a lot of things, and I'm sure all the BTS pictures is me.
Okay, you
in the
could have cut a
background like
lot of this shit.
These two are over there.
But whatever.
I was hanging on
They're
by a
having
thread
fun,
or
I
by a
guess.
wire, by a wire.
This is trying to
But
humanize
I
them.
pulled it together.
Exactly, I
with
get
a lot
it.
of help from our technical team.
The movements aren't like that difficult, but it's
you
doing
pause
it
it
for
real
like
quick?
12-hour days repetitive.
Yeah.
I think Script had a really good point about the humanizing. I think that's mostly true. And the reason why I say is mostly this is more of a we need to humanize Brie Larson, because Brie Larson is so hardcore and likable.
Yeah, I was
That's
just
why she
thinking
got
that.
demoted. That's why she got demoted in her own movie franchise towards the Marvels, because they need to add characters like this, not just because of girl power, because we all know that's true too, but also because they need people she can bounce off of to make her seem like, hey, she's all right. This won't save her.
Mhm.
All right,
No.
carry on.
Do we want to? I
Repetitively,
don't
that's
know.
like you're using muscles that you didn't even know existed. Yeah, I think I also took training a lot more seriously, especially because Kamala's more advanced. So it was kind of hard
Ooh.
dealing with like her choreography because the show hadn't come out yet when we were filming the movie.
Advanced,
So
huh?
all the stunt coordinators were like, "So you tell us what you can
What your
do.
style is.
What is your character like?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" So we kind of developed a lot of parkour moves for Kamala, and that was just really fun. And I got to train a lot with my stunt double for that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun.
I just feel like I trained smarter this time because I knew before it was like training for Captain Marvel. It was like just being strong was like such a huge part for me because I was going from not being an active person at all to being active, and then was like just growing in terms of what I could do. Now it's like when you think about it, like if you could fly or even just hover, would you walk? I don't think I would probably just want to move around that way. So it's a way more wire work, which they're both saying it's just a lot harder on the body. You wouldn't think that because you're like, oh, this thing's holding you up, but you're fighting against gravity and wires, and it is uncomfortable, and it takes a long time to go to the bathroom. That's like a real thing. You're in a plank all day with like this armor on, so you're really top heavy, and you have to keep yourself up, and you're doing dialogue, and you're doing all this stuff. People don't know unless they're doing it that it's really hard, and so you can be in it for a really long time, and it's hard to have to be your own advocate and be like, this is actually like a plank position that I've been in for 4 hours. So we all had to get very good at communicating with each other as well, because just like in the movie,
talk about something interesting.
Uncomfortable situations that we're trying to organize together. So it requires a lot of different things. So like snacks, food, drinks, going to the bathroom. It's it's a lot. Being in the harness is hard.
All right.
What a rough life.
I had fun in that spacesuit, the one that I switched into with Tiana.
Are we done with
fun
this?
in a really bad way. It was like a 20-meter spacesuit I'm wearing, and it was like way too big for me. It was so heavy. And then
Okay, I can't listen anymore to this shit. Sorry, guys.
Sorry,
we did our best. We did our best to do our duty to YouTube and our country, but fuck that. Zontar says lots of things going viral, like skibidi toilet that are heavy on 2000s nostalgia. Sorry, 90s kids. It's still good for you guys. I wouldn't even know what it was to know it was nostalgia.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, if that didn't get you interested in watching this movie, folks, I don't know what will.
The 90s haven't really had a chance to breathe yet for nostalgia. We were just getting out of the 80s nostalgia. I mean, Top Gun is definitely the 80s nostalgia kind of thing. But Nikki D says, film critic Eric Weber, who watched the movie, says the film is super preachy, constantly stating the patriarchy is terrible and men rule the universe.
Meaning Barbie, I suppose.
For fuck's sake.
So Barbie leaves a world ruled by Barbies to enter man's world, kind of like in a Wonder Woman allegory, only to hate man's world.
Well,
interesting.
There you go. Why not?
Jeremy Hembry has been a member for 4 months, says a sound of freedom yesterday and I can't. I don't know if you didn't have enough room or it wouldn't let you type what you're typing, but I know you also sent us a super chat, and I think you said what you meant to say there, which is you saw the film and you enjoyed it, I believe. Yeah, thank you so much, Jeremy. Jeremiah, sorry. Yeah. And I'll take that, David. Darth, I can't.
Well,
I can't not. Look, I'm trying to fill a fucking show here, guys.
Reporting to do. Hey, it's hard-hitting journalism.
There's nothing going on but the rent, according to the strike. There really isn't all that much to really go on that we haven't really talked about already. Like, this is the only other thing I can come up with. Where are my residuals? Actors and writers share horror stories on picket line. I'm sure, Script, you may have a few yourself.
Well, I've heard some stories. There's one person featured, I think, in this article who claims to have been a writer for the first season of Cobra Kai, but he talks about how it's a Netflix show. And I'm like, dude, Cobra Kai signed with YouTube Red. Like, they didn't become a Netflix show till after they put season 3 was already in the can. I don't know what you're talking about there, but no, other ones are
well, he's actually referring to a show that he worked on called Sneakerheads from Netflix, but yeah.
Was he? Because he says I wrote on the first season of Cobra Kai,
which is one of the biggest shows on Netflix history. I think I have more money in my pockets right now than any residuals I've seen from that.
And that's from Cobra Kai. Like, again,
I was also an executive for this other show, which was a smaller show, but it premiered #1 in a bunch of countries for a little while. I've yet to see $1 from that. You want to know why? Because they're getting pennies.
Yeah.
Pennies at best.
The model does not promote residuals.
No, in no way, shape, or form. And that's where I agree. And you and I have said this for years now, Script.
Yeah.
They need to get, look, I get it. It's going to suck for some of us, but it's also, there's a good side to it. They need a streaming model where they have a complete ad-free or a ad-supported model. And the ad-supported model, of course, is the cheaper one. And the ad-free one is the less cheaper one. But what you get out of that, as you said, is that the more of the ad revenue and streaming revenue goes towards the shows that are hits because they have to be more transparent.
Yeah. And that's been the biggest point of contention along these negotiations. This morning, I went through the SAG-AFTRA proposals, and a number of their highlights were asking for transparency. And of course, every single time that was brought up, it was rejected by the AMPTP. And it's like, well, why are, there's transparency for two reasons. One, they're either embarrassed with the numbers, or they're happy with the numbers and they don't want to open. They don't want
to pay out
that bag of whole bag of worms or what have you, with regards to saying, yes, this is basically working just like network and syndication and cable. We have to adopt those types of models onto this now, and therefore we can't make as much money off of it as we were hoping to initially under the new media purview, which basically stipulates that it's new media. We don't know what it's going to be like in the next few years, so we're just not going to do anything to help you out.
It's kind of like that old saying, I'm sure I'm going to screw this up because I always do. It's like, you can either have it fast,
cheap, or good. Pick two.
Kind of thing in Hollywood. Exactly. You either have to pay your people up front and hope for the best on the other end, or people actually get a back end deal that pays.
Yep.
Right? Because you cannot have situations like with Ed Sullivan going out there going, oh, here we are on the 4th Men in Black movie, and I'm still waiting for my first fucking residual check. Because he's like, how can they still be making these movies when they tell me, according to movie math, when I walk into Sony Studios and ask for my checks, that the movie never made a dime? And of course, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that as far as the gross versus net and all that kind of business. And Script Doctor could probably go on for days about that. But the point being here is they have to make it fair. It's just like I was just trying to say with the whole, you can either have it cheap, fast, or good. You have to figure it out one way or the other. You can't have all three and have your cake and eat it too. Somebody's going to hurt at the end. And I get it. I'm not so much worried about the actors in this case, but when it comes to the writers and the creatives on this stuff, look, you got to make it fair. And when we got a situation where The Rock is getting $50 million fucking dollars for a movie, something is wrong.
Yes, he's not worth that
much.
First of all, and I also don't, and after listening to Fran Drescher's fucking boo-hoo, what fucking actress who couldn't even fucking convince me in that fucking speech, I'll tell you right now. Like, that's one thing, but the other thing is she's sitting there going off about fucking Bob Iger, and here she's gonna make me stick up for fuckers like Bob Iger when somebody like The Rock, as Script has just pointed out, is not even worth it. Motherfucker's never even opened a movie on his own bigger than $55 million.
I know.
How the fuck is he worth $50 million for a streaming movie? You tell me that. But the reason he's getting that $50 million is because it's a streaming movie. Well, go ahead. I'll let you have a moment, Nick, but let me just finish this real fucking quick. Because that's just it. I don't see The Rock going, you know what? I'm making way too much money for this movie. I'm going to take $20 million and then I'm going to give the rest to the rest of the cast equally. You'll never fucking see these guys doing it. The only ones who do are like Keanu Reeves and Tom Cruise. Those are the only two guys that have ever afterwards took out of their own pockets. And Robin Williams back. I'm sure there's other examples that would come up. But my point is it's not the norm. But anyway, Nick, you were about to say, I just wanted to finish that thought.
Oh no, I was just adding to your point that not only was The Rock's best opening at the money that you said, but he was doing it not off an original thing that he can call his own. He was doing it off a DC Comics movie, an IP that is already obviously pre-existing. So he doesn't have a thing to call his own. You could say what you will, even about
exactly when you're coming into Fast and the Furious 8, right, or whatever it was.
He had an ocean of movies to call his own. And obviously, he would do the occasional IP, whether it was Conan, Batman, Stallone. He had a number of things to call his own, things that became his own. These guys had several things. The Rock has zero.
Nothing that he has been a star of has ever opened that big. And his biggest opening to date was for Black Adam, which I believe was, what, $54 million?
Something around that, yeah.
And it was considered a failure. What does that tell you?
That's for what he led, because I think Jumanji, the one that he was at, part of the ensemble, opened a bit higher than that. But again, it's an ensemble.
Well, that's an
not what he led. San Andreas, the skyscraper one, don't open very big.
Nope.
Tom has been very correct in the fact that The Rock is not a box office draw. The Rock is famous for being famous.
He's not even that big overseas. He's okay overseas, but he likes to act like he's the Schwarzenegger of this generation, and he's more like the Charles Bronson.
Dude, don't insult Charles Bronson.
And that's actually right, because Nick's right. That's actually more of an insult on Charles Bronson, because Charles Bronson would do a lot more than The Rock would do for a lot less.
Charles Bronson had things to call his own too that people liked. He did also carry. He was a leading man.
Charles Bronson has range. The Rock does not.
Okay.
The Rock is a rock. I mean, that's come on.
You saying Charles Bronson has range is even funny.
I mean, because listen, compared to The Rock, he does. I mean, come on.
I know that's
right.
This is Charles Bronson and everything he does.
You've seen him.
Doesn't matter. This is me angry. This is me happy. This is me sad. I'm Charles Bronson.
He was still a star.
Better. It's still better because you know what? He's a leading man. When you see him there, you're like, okay, that's the guy who's the main man in the movie. And the Rock
you're 100% right.
Near a Death Wish 3.
Rock's biggest movies. Rock's biggest movies are Black Adam, the skyscraper one in San Andreas, and the video game one.
Jumanji, yeah.
No, not Jumanji.
Rampage.
Rampage. Other than that, they're all ensemble films. They're either a Fast and the Furious, a Jumanji, a movie where he's coming in at whatever one, and even like Jungle Cruise and shit like that are flat out bombs. Like nobody considers these things, and he doesn't have this huge outside the country draw. What's funny is some jabroni tried to fucking tag Rock in my saying that shit. He's like, he'd kick your ass for saying that. Like, he might, but I could buy a house.
That was good. That was really good.
It's a pretty good trade-off, wouldn't you think?
Right? I'll let him kick my ass for a house and a boat. Fuck it.
In Wisconsin, where there's no water around at all.
I don't give a shit. I'll live on the boat. I can grill on that sumbitch. That's all.
No, I mean, like resting in a giant pool of cheese.
Well, now you're talking. Can I get some really enormous chips? Like just take full tortillas and just deep fry them by the dozen. Start tossing them like frisbees.
You're making that sound really good.
It is. It's going to be amazing. World's biggest nachos.
Tom Connors isn't new for getting beaten up by The Rock. Sues The Rock, gets that houseboat on a big pool of cheese.
The hot tub jets actually stir the cheese and keep it from getting hard on top. It's amazing. It's science.
And it's pasteurized, so it never expires.
That's right. No, I do feel bad for the writers. I do feel bad because actually I ran into somebody on the Twitter who claimed he works in production. Like I said, I feel bad for you, right? Because these are the guys that are going to be suffering. They're not working, or or the work's starting to, tunnel up, or however you want, or bottleneck up because they're going to be done with whatever because they're not going to have anything to work on before too long. And there's a few things that are getting passes, but frankly, I mean, it's just like those are the guys I feel worse for, is all the ladies and the men and the whatevers that have to deal with all the other stuff that don't have jobs now all of a sudden. Because a lot of the actors will be able to live on. The actors that weren't making a living acting have other jobs to fall back on, or they should. So
you think around a majority of them, considering the fact that over 80%, have huge gaps.
Because I brought that up to you earlier. It's like, look, this is the honest to God truth, and you said it was even less than when I was being, I guess.
You're being charitable,
generous.
But it is a little less.
Like it is like, look, and that's really low. Like 5-10% at best are actual actors who can make a living, and you're talking like the top 2 or 3% are guys like The Rock, getting $50 million checks. I get it, but that also means it's not a sustainable career. That means you have to find other ways of. Look, that's the way it works on YouTube, man. When we first started this, all Andre and I had to do was put up a video every week. That's it. Now we've got to do tons and tons of shit just to keep up with what we used to make and keep up with what we pay Pablo and everybody else, you know? So like, it's like you have to diversify yourself at the same time. So I feel sorry for only the people that it really does truly affect at the end of the day. And sadly, as Script has pointed out and others, all these strikes really do, and negotiations at the end of the day, they help that top 5-10% I was just talking about, and that's it. All the little guys, they're still left out of the big pie when it's all said and done. And I don't agree with
still
that.
Competitive enough of a job that
it
yeah,
is.
you still have to work your way up to that level.
And as
The other
R&B
part,
says,
too,
you know,
is that
go
it
ahead.
doesn't help when studios are cutting back on the television stuff, which is kind of where people have been made into stars back in you know, that was traditionally where it was. You had a whole bunch of television shows. They've been producing mass amounts and quantities, but the episode orders have been so small that they almost don't even get traction to allow for actors and talent to, one, promote the show, and two, gain an audience so that people can be like, oh, wow, this is a refreshing new show. Let's go watch it. Let's, you know, do what we want to do. Instead, it's like, oh, okay, we're going to do a 6-episode half-hour comedy series, and then we'll figure out after 8 months whether or not we'll renew it, which means that, you know, they won't even tell you it's going to be 8 months. They're just going to say, we don't know when we're going to renew it. So now the actor's like, well, I'm signed to a 3-year deal. I don't know when they're going to renew it. So I have to actually be very cautious about what jobs I take in between there, because I can't have a scheduling conflict, because a scheduling conflict will basically mean that I have to pick which one of the jobs I'm going to keep. And if I get a job that pays more, but it's shorter and it overlaps with the show, I end up losing essentially both incomes as a result. And it's really like, I mean, the fact that the studios have been pulling this thing for the last 6 years has been pretty terrible. I mean, I've seen it even for writers too, where they're not being told if they're coming back until literally by the end of the wire. And this has been kind of the case for cable for a long time. Like in some cases, they'll tell the showrunners, yeah, 60% chance we're going to renew you, but if you find another job, we're not going to stop you. And then, you know, they find out a couple weeks before they would actually have to start prepping for shooting. Oh yeah, we've renewed you. We're going to make an official announcement in the trades in a month's time. So get to work. And then they have to bring everybody back, or whoever they can back, who hasn't gotten another job. It's really, it's been like this since the early 2000s, and it's just gotten worse with every couple of years.
Well, I think one of the main reasons this is dying, or this is becoming to a head, is not just the streaming aspect of it, because the streaming is just a part of the problem in the sense that streaming adopted the cable way of making shows, and that's how they could get, you know, some big movie star to come and make a 8-episode or 10-episode, 12-episode series on FX or, you know, AMC or something like that. HBO, Showtime, that's where they really kind of started with Sopranos and such like that. But like even Sopranos was like full seasons, I think, wasn't it, at first?
It was full seasons, and they even
and Entourage was like 15, I think. But like, yeah.
And even with their full
no,
model,
those early ones were full. No, you're right.
Yeah, they
no, I thought the only early HBO series that came close to a full season was Oz, when they did a 16-episode season.
Maybe Dream On.
That
I think
season
Sopranos
fell
had,
off
like,
a bit of a cliff with the writing too, so they went back to the 8-episode order.
I think
Larry
one of
Anderson,
them was like
Larry
12, right?
Sanders.
Which one was 12? I can't remember.
Regardless, my whole point was they did them in shorter episodes for the reason of you can spend more on, you know,
On the
less
production.
episodes on the production, get movie stars and people to sign in on, because you're not on for as many shooting days and weeks or whatever as you would be for a normal TV show. So then they tried to adapt that into the streaming model instead of actually trying to adapt the full on, because that what it used to be is like it didn't matter about working, because they're just kind of, my point is they're catering to these bigger movie stars and such instead of actually trying to make TV stars now, it feels like.
Well, they're not even trying to make movie stars either. Like, that's the other problem.
Yeah,
The very thing that draws people to your content, it should be beyond the IP. The IP should be the you know, the icing on the cake, so to speak. It's like, oh, we got this actor. Oh, and they're doing this thing. Cool. We didn't get, like, back in the day when Iron Man was coming out. It's like, oh, we got Iron Man. Cool. Whoa, we got Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. That's inspired. That we have to see this now. Like,
Now it's
that
about the
worked. And even though
character.
it wasn't so much of Robert Downey Jr. with regard to his acting, it's the fact that outside of acting, his public journey of being arrested, cleaning himself up, and getting back into doing things like the Shaggy Dog and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and little bits.
That, and people were willing to give a superhero movie a chance at that point too.
Yeah,
I mean, we lived in a world where there wasn't one of these every other weekend.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. Like there wasn't an oversaturation to it. There's a more reasonable balance. The other aspect too is like I've went over their contract. A lot of the stuff that they're asking for does help a lot of the actors that
That's good.
are not in the top, 5 or 10%. And then the thing that kind of was really egregious is that the guild wanted to help child actors with a bit more protection, more eased work days, things of that nature, and the AMPTP completely flat out refused to even accommodate kids who they already have reduced hours as they are. They already have to have maximum supervision. But on top of that, it's like, we just want to make things easier for them. And they said, no. It's like,
wow,
that's the studio. So you have the talent that you're wanting to support, making it easier. Because again, some of the people that are in the union started out as child actors. So they know how difficult it is. And they're trying to pay it forward by making it easier for the next generation. And the studios are saying no. That's pretty horrifying.
Well, if you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, please do. What's your first thought? Sends us a thumbs up here. Thank you for the super chat there, or the super sticker. We appreciate that. What do you guys want to talk about next? You want to talk about Jason Aldean, or you want to talk about He-Man?
Who's Jason Aldean?
Not man.
He's a country singer. Okay, we're going to talk about that then. I didn't think anybody's going to want to talk about the Jason Aldean thing, but yeah.
Never heard
It's
of
actually
him.
interesting, but yeah. Well, he put out a song. Well, it just, I might as well just cover it if I'm going to tell you guys, but we'll just do the Masters shit first. Yeah, this kind of just happened here a little bit ago. Master Universe movie is dead at Netflix. No surprise there. Andre and I have been kind of predicting this for a while. $30 million were already put into the development of the movie.
Whew.
Mattel is out shopping for a new buyer. My guess is it'll probably land at Universal, especially if Barbie has a great weekend.
Well, Warner Brothers has Barbie.
Or Warner Bros. I meant. Sorry, you're right.
No worries.
It was Universal before.
It feels like Universal because they've been associated with the property for
the movie for so long. Yeah, Masters of the Universe, which would be funny as well because if it does land, and now that you say that, I remember now because I did make that joke about it landing back at Warner Brothers if it does, because that's where it kind of started to begin with. Years and years ago, Masters of the Universe, a live action movie, has been in development hell longer than the Rise of Palpatine, and the Flash put together actually.
25 years?
At least.
Because
on which iteration.
They were trying to make a live action one again before they did the cartoon, the 2002 cartoon, were they not?
Well, let's not count all that business. Let's just count this last iteration. This has definitely been in for at least 10, 15 years or better now. At least. But okay, so this was going to be over at Netflix. It had jumped from Sony to Netflix after it left Universal and Warner Brothers initially. That's how many different regimes or different studios this thing's gone through. The Nee brothers were the last ones attached to it. And they are obviously done. So it's, or at least for now anyway, until they find somebody else anyway. A live action movie based on blah, blah, blah. Insiders say that close to 30 million has already been spent on development costs and cash that's been shelled out to hold on to talent like previously announced lead Kyle Allen and the film's heat-seeking directing duo Adam and Aaron Nee. Other knowledgeable sources estimate an all-in cost for development is at twice that figure. Holy shit. You could have a movie by now for that.
Yep. Once again, another budget that is way overspent. And this is an animated movie.
No, this is a live action.
This is a live action. In
is
fact,
it live action? Oh,
no,
I
yes.
didn't catch
The original Masters of the Universe could have really used $30 million back then.
No shit.
No, it absolutely could have.
Yeah, but Canon would have just embezzled it, but still. The latest headaches for He-Man besides Skeletor is a treacherous journey to the screen, one that goes as far back as 2007. So they're saying 2007. So there you go. There's your date. Like I said, somewhere between 10 and 15 years. Yeah. Excuse me. It's a long road.
Right as Netflix was doing a streaming service launch.
Yep. It's a long road that's crossed through two other studios like Warner Brothers and Sony. I think they're missing Universal in there as well. Pretty fucking sure. And countless writers and directors like John M. Chu and McGee. The latest implosion at Netflix, according to 5 individuals with knowledge of the projects, was over budget concerns. Spokesman for Mattel confirmed that Masters of the Universe is no longer at Netflix, but did not provide any further comment. Netflix spokesman also had no comment. Set on planet Eternia, Master Universe largely focuses on blah, blah, blah. We already know all this shit. Anyway, the budget came in at over 200 million, with cameras set to roll this February. Sources had said last spring, however, Netflix was confronted, with a stunning stock drop. Remember that? That saw a powerful streamer shed 50 billion in value after investors became concerned about the company's subscriber loss. In the aftermath of the sell-off, Netflix film head Scott Stuber, the chief content officer Bella Bajaria tried to reassure the industry that they still had money to spend amid their Wall Street woes. However, sources close to Masters of the Universe said after that point, the streamer refused to shell out more than $150 million to see the up-and-comer Alan, American Horror Story, Haunting in Venice, pick up He-Man's sword. Source familiar with Netflix said the stock drop was irrelevant to budget issues on Masters, noting that the content spend had been flat at $17 billion for 2 years, despite market fluctuation. The Nee brothers, who came in riding high as directors of Sandra Bullock's rom-com The Lost City, worked with producers including Todd Black and Mattel's Robbie Brenner to get the budget down. Even as significant pre-production around the film still took place, producers brought back a proposed $180 million budget to the table, and Netflix still balked, never handing the movie an official green light. One source with knowledge of the budget's talks said the final figure included costs spent on development. Netflix and filmmakers even considered shooting Master Universe, a proposed sequel, simultaneously to amortize the expense they added. Multiple parties said the streamer is enamored with filmmakers' siblings, but could not reach middle ground. Yeah, it's telling that Netflix would bail after such significant investment. Part of the at least $30 million spent in development was paid to Sony, which sold the Masters film rights to Netflix in 2019 per sources. Well, we already knew that. That's not even... The decision to go further illustrates the challenge of making huge film franchises exclusively for streaming platforms. Black, an Academy Award nominee who has produced Fences and The Equalizer, has been relentless in trying to find a new buyer for the property, so they're shopping it around. Black engaged with Universal Pictures in the past month or so about acquiring the film. Two other sources familiar with this effort said studio passed on the project. Oh, so Universal's out. Black and leadership at Mattel are doubtlessly hoping this weekend's Barbie project, projected to take north of $100 million at the box office, will, as I predicted there too. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's really...
No, they're now getting into the strike stuff, which is really,
who cares?
It's irrelevant at this point.
This is before the strike.
They just need to find someone that's willing to produce it, and then they can worry about the strike afterwards. At this point,
I hope it rots. I hope it sits on a vine and rots until Universal gets the rights back, and they just do a different movie altogether. Because I do not want David S. Goyer's fucking He-Man.
No,
nobody should want that.
Don't need him.
Nobody should want that.
He's not meant to touch a lot of these things, and that's what he got over-attached to way too many things he should have not been involved in.
Well, he's a parallel Akiva Goldsman, so I mean that's what he is.
Yes, I just please don't let this come out. Stay dead. I don't want it to even get shopped around. Let's stay buried.
Agreed.
Well, here's the interesting aspect. If it can go back to say Universal or what have you, or maybe say Universal does make a deal. They also have the purview, depending on the contract, to kind of wipe the slate clean, especially if you have someone in there that says, no, these prospects here for what you're doing in development is going to cost way too much. We think we can make a He-Man movie for $105 million.
And what I'm going off of is, I mean, Warner could still swoop in and buy it if they wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
But Universal, as far as we know, has the entertainment rights for Motu. So all they'd have to do is just sit back and wait for however much longer until the rights come up. As long as nobody picks them up, they should lapse back to Universal, is my point. Which could even be a couple of years. I have no idea how many years it would be. But I wouldn't think it'd be too much longer because this has been in development for so long. And it's been at Netflix alone now for like 2 years. I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, because I remember Goyer's been a part of it now for the better part of 6 years because I made this video back in 2006, it says here. that'll show here in a second. Go ahead and say what you're going to say. But
Well,
yeah.
I'm just saying, part of the reason why the rights haven't gone back to Universal is maybe because every type of new deal that's met with another studio has allowed an auto renewal of them.
That could be.
Now I have the upper hand. He-Man.
Same Oracle.
Why did you say that name?
Same Oracle.
Why? Stop saying that name.
Oracle.
Stop saying that name.
That's what it would be.
How old is that video?
That's 6 years old. I did that 6 fucking years ago.
Nice.
I know the Jaws Unhinged. I did that with really crappy fucking.
Very good though.
Yeah, like I said, 6 years ago. So no surprise there.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, another beloved property constantly under assault, but is there one that isn't? Can't think of many that aren't.
Yeah. Then we got Nikki D.
Have their
go ahead.
mandates, what they want to do.
Sends in a super chat here for $10. Says, to answer Tom's question, a few days ago, Jeremy Renner was offered to return to MI6, but declined when he found out he was getting killed off to serve as motivation to Ethan to pursue the bad guy. Well, I argued that somebody needed to die. I was kind of let down when I thought Simon Pegg was going to get it, because I'm like, that's the thing, is Ethan's never really lost a damn thing in any of these movies.
Other than his first team, yeah.
Yeah, since then, he has not lost anything.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but maybe he does lose something in the first one. And in Mission 7.
Oh, yeah, he does. I'm not going to, yeah.
He lost an ally in Fallout.
Finally, he does here. But then, like, honestly, I think it would have worked better because it actually would have been more poignant with what Jeremy Renner's character's connection was to him in the first place. I think it would have been a decent storyline, actually.
Well, they were kind of prepping a little bit for Jeremy Renner to take over.
That was what I also had read somewhere, so that was where they just kind of phased him out, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Kerry Russell dies in MI3.
Yeah, but she's barely a character. Like, I'm talking about return characters.
She is barely
like,
a character. And actually, you know what's worse? She was a wasted character because Kerry Russell's a good actress.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about somebody who's
was
introduced in a
wasted.
movie and dies. I'm talking about Simon Pegg or Bing Ryan was one of those guys. Somebody who's a returning character. Yeah.
Yeah.
This time, though, yes, it finally does happen. We're not going to say who. Dun dun dun. There, you're going to have to go see the movie, I guess, because there's your proof that I'm not against this movie making money. There's this thing going around that I'm like on this crusade against Mission Impossible, and it's like no. All I'm trying to tell people is every movie this year, every blockbuster is underperforming. So is this one.
Yes.
People are trying to make excuses for it, but it's under fucking performing big time.
Tom,
well, not big time, but in a way that I don't think people are trying to admit. And Sound of Freedom, on the other hand, is playing like a blockbuster should.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's
Tom,
also
I'll admit it to you
funded
on
like
air.
a blockbuster proper. Low budget, good yield in return. It's like you don't have that anymore.
Basically, what I'm saying is if Sound of Freedom had the same amount of theaters the Mission Impossible did,
It would be making more.
it may be a much tighter race. I'm not sure if it'd necessarily be at number one, but it'd be like
It might be
much
more.
tighter.
I think it might be.
Probably.
I'm waiting to see what
At the-
tomorrow's numbers are because it
has
almost took.
potential.
Do you know what the
But
difference in numbers was for yesterday's box office between Mission Impossible and
You get like $1 million.
bucks?
Yeah,
not
I
even
saw
a
that,
million?
$1 million.
$400,000.
See why I think it could be more.
Well,
See
here's
why
the
I
other
think it could
aspect
be
too.
more.
Mission Impossible has fewer showings per day compared to Sound of Freedom as well because of the exceeding long runtime.
Wow.
That's also another thing factor that
Not by a lot, but yeah, you're right.
well, what Sound of Freedom's not not
No, it's 2 hours, but
Yeah.
Mission Impossible is 2.5.
yeah, exactly. So 30 minutes that takes at least one screening per day out of the running for competitively for
It does.
for Sound of Freedom. But the other part too is like, yes, we don't need 2.5 hour films. But no, I think it's fair because again, if Mission Impossible were say budgeted more like the first two films were, between 80 and 120 million dollars, this would be tracking their returns would be far better overall, and they'd actually have a higher likelihood of breaking even and even making profit. Like right now, as I said on Valiant's show, I'd be surprised if this thing gets beyond 600 million worldwide at the end of the day. I think it's
Which
good.
would actually be kind of devastating for Paramount.
It would be on the box office side of things, but like again, Valiant's also right that
They have
Paramount
a
does
chance to make it
multiple
up on the other end. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Unlike with Disney, because even Warner Brothers has other chances to make it up on the other end because they're doing PVOD right now for the Flash, I guess, which they're not gonna make money off of that.
I ain't gonna help nothing.
uh,
That's trying to like use a Band-Aid when you cut your fucking arm off.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, maybe we can stop some of the bleeding.
Oh, what a shame! What a shame.
We got what's your first thought? It says evening, gents. Well, I hope you use that term loosely.
Evening, gents.
Have you guys talked about the Bloomberg article Attack on the Sound of Freedom? It turns out the writers might be on the side of the film. Might be on the side of the film is fighting.
That's the film side.
I would love to see if there's
Haven't
any
seen that.
sprinkle of truth to that. I have a hard time believing that, considering.
Well, it's a writer. It's a writer director, and then there's another writer in there, and I don't know if that's. Listen, if they're making that argument, they better have receipts, because that's a.
Yeah,
that's
But
a big
I'm trying
accusation.
to figure out
On
what
the
he
side.
means here.
Maybe it means on the side that the film is fighting. Meaning they're
Like
on the
they
side
on
of the
the
bad
subject
guys.
matter.
I know. Yeah, the way that this is worded, it sounds like they're on the side of.
You don't have to
bad
send another
guys.
super chat, but try and clarify what you mean, buddy.
conflict.
Because I don't want to get you wrong here. I'm looking for the Bloomberg article otherwise.
Yeah, I'm very curious what that could mean, because that's very broad.
The first Google result I see is the QAnon stuff.
Yeah.
It's always
A
that,
little
isn't it?
sus.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Well,
Donald Trump
Google
plans to
does
screen it.
manipulate the results.
Won't let me read any farther down here, but yeah, I don't have a Bloomberg. He means the writer of the article sides with the filmmakers.
Yeah, I think it's or maybe he means the writer of the article is sympathetic to the bad guys, basically.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
But he says writers. But, I mean, maybe that's
The
his phone.
writers. Yeah, I was thinking of like you. Yeah, you were thinking of the movies writers.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah, it could be the movies writers.
Oh, it's
Alejandro
there's a
Monteverde
louder with
and-
Crowder
and Rod
thing
Barr.
about that.
Is there?
Bloomberg writer blasting Sound of Freedom has passed. Questionable tweets about.
Oh, that thing.
I know what you're
Okay,
talking
okay,
about now.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I see what he's saying now. In the way, okay.
that piece of work.
I have not read into it. I just heard about it. What's your first thoughts? So I can't really comment on it.
What is it?
But I
What's
guess
the deal?
the guy who wrote the article for Bloomberg attacking the movie has
Right.
questionable tweets.
Oh, so he might be one of the
One of them, yeah.
Gotcha. That's what I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Say no more. That makes sense now.
I know more.
They were on Tim Pool yesterday, I think, and raised $50K for the Pay It Forward program.
Nice.
And I heard about that on the fucking Christian channel I listen to once in a while. I was like, oh shit, they just mentioned Tim Pool. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
But they were bringing up the same points I was kind of bringing up too, and how the film has been playing on the same level basically as Mission Impossible at this point. And during the week here, it's neck and neck. Like I said, 400K is the only difference between the two.
Yeah,
It still has no international distribution.
No, it starts in Mexico this week. UK, I think, has an August release date. That's what I'm curious about. And see, I asked earlier on Mr. H. Was it Mr. H's? I think it was on when I asked it, maybe, or it was. Yeah, I think I said
That or
something about like.
cultures.
No, I was pretty sure it was Mr. H's because I said, has the international crowd heard about this? And in the audience, they're like, outside of us talking about it, they said no, not outside of that, much outside of the U.S. So unless some foreign distributors get on board with this, it's hard to say. But I mean, I don't know who they released. I mean, because Passion of the Christ was a studio picture, so it had international distribution. I don't know if Angel Studios has had other foreign distribution deals in the past with any of their other projects. But I got to imagine at some point here, with the amount of money this movie has generated now at this point, you've got to have quite a few foreign distributors coming at you for this movie, at least in certain markets, I would imagine. Don't you think, Script, I would think at this point, considering?
Even if they didn't, they have enough money now and just profits alone from the film that they could do it themselves.
True. I mean, that's true. Which would go right against Grace Randolph's whole, well, this is a bad move for Angel Studios to do that. Still don't understand her
kidding
fucking
me?
take
Angel
on
Studios, with the amount of money they've made so far, they could take a third of that and four-wall a bunch of theaters internationally,
Right?
and just rake in the ticket sales from there.
I have no idea where she's getting this shit from. She was trying to, and I still don't even understand her argument or where her argument was in that. But in her stupid video she did earlier this week that everybody's been EFAPing anyway.
I've never
Like
seen
she
Trying
flat
to
out
understand
says,
Grace is
yeah,
maybe
so
a
nobody has to
mistake.
listen to her shrill voice. I'll try to quickly say what she said, and that is basically she was trying to argue that it was a bad move for Angel Studios to release this movie. She was trying to argue that it was a bad move for the company. She was trying to say that it was going to harm them in a market where they just got this deal for the that Jesus show. I can't remember the name of it.
The
but I think
Chosen.
CW picked it up. The Chosen,
CW
yes.
picked up the first 3 seasons before the strike, and they have the interim agreement to continue the 4th season because it is technically a fully independently funded show.
Yeah,
That's
so at
released
best
on
I
the
can
website.
best as I could translate from her stupidity was she was trying to say that the movie's controversy is now going to affect that deal and future deals.
What?
That's what you had the same fucking reaction I did. Because I'm waiting for her to give me this reason why this is a bad move for Angels to like. This is literally like someone saying this is like Booger playing fucking poker with what's his face in Revenge of the Nerds, and I just forgot his name, Takashi or whatever.
Takashi, yeah,
and he's like, you got too many. He's literally cheating him, and it's like Takashi's like, oh, thank you. Like, it's like you're expecting Angel to go, oh, you're right, Grace, thank you. No, fuck you. They're like, bitch, do you see the checks we're cashing? Fuck you.
Yeah, it's like John Candy.
And they wouldn't even say it like that.
It's like the John Candy poker game in Stripes as well, right?
Yes.
When he's playing with the one redneck boy. Yeah.
Let me see your hand. Oh, that's a good hand there. Come on, bluff me. Come on. Wait.
See, now you didn't really have anything, so I'm going to take the money.
Exactly. Like, I don't understand the fucking argument she's trying to make here with this whole thing.
No,
and that is the best that I could sum it down to from what she said. And I'm not wrong. Go watch the video. Anybody will tell you I'm not misrepresenting it in any way. If anything, I made her argument more cohesive or understandable.
You should cut that into a short. Grab the scene from Stripes and then mix it up with Grace Randall's thing and then put it out on YouTube, and you might
that and the nerd scene both. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like you're literally trying to think people are going to like believe that you're trying to pull one over on them. Like, in what world is this a bad? It is the dumbest argument I've ever heard. It's a bad movie because it's getting all this bad press. It's like, no, bitch, there's no such thing as bad press. This press is what's making people go see this movie. Right? Yeah. You've got the one side who want to support it, and the other side are going, well, I got to see what the fuss is all about.
I mean,
and that was what fuels a film.
But not only that, this is usually what happens with some of your more contentious Disney films in the studio. They have a fairly decent opening, at least they did prior, because people were like reviewing it saying, this is garbage, this is terrible. No, we got to go see it. Boom, you get a little bump, and then you get that steep decline. However, unlike with that, The Sound of Freedom is actually just having steady numbers and growth in addition to it. So there's something different going on in this. And I mean, again, it still has the same level of effort put behind with regards to their own message. It's just a different message, but it's one that's far more appealing to the audiences than the stuff that's countered by the big studio heads.
Yepper.
There you go. And I do see that there is some, I can't really get it up, the phrasing. I can't get the link up here. I'm trying to find, okay, maybe this is it. Somebody wrote up an article about the Bloomberg thing. No, it just takes me back to this thing. I don't know what this is. I guess maybe they didn't. I don't know. But yeah, there's somebody out there talking about it. Maybe it's like a forum. But yeah, no, I did see some about it, but I didn't get to really investigate it. Sorry, I didn't have more for you on that. But I'm sure we'll get into it. I'm sure we're not done talking about Sound of Freedom. It's going to be something we'll talk about for a little bit yet, I think. And that's true. I need to get some pills. As culture would say, if it lasts for more than 4 hours, I got to go to see a hospital guy because that's proprietism. or whatever it is he says. He knows all those fancy words. It makes me wonder.
A priapism? Oh wait,
That
so I know
thing.
what it is. I didn't pronounce it correctly.
A
but
priapism?
Priapism, yeah.
Yeah. I knew what I was saying. I fucked it up on purpose. But Captain Fandom Nerd says this is like boring to like listen to.
Like,
thank you, Captain Fandom Nerd. We appreciate that. Yeah, he's obviously talking about
like great, like that Marvel's like video, like
yeah. You got three women who work full time in Hollywood together on a Zoom call, and you expect that to be entertaining and not annoying.
Like, no, I don't.
And not to sound too sexist there, but it's just like get a hair and makeup artist in there. You know, maybe get a stunt woman as well. Stunt women are way more interesting to talk to than most actresses I know, especially in that pool of the Disney World setting.
Deedishness.
all right. Well, let's see here. I think that's about it, unless you guys want to talk about this Jason Aldean thing.
I don't know who he is.
Well, Jason Aldean is a country singer, and he did a song called Try This or Try That in a Small Town.
Okay.
And the music video has now been pulled from CMT's rotation. And there's been a bunch of hit pieces out. Now, I'm hoping at least CC knows who Jason Aldean is.
I know who he is. I don't know about this song yet, though.
I've heard the song. It's not a bad song. It's a pretty typical country song, but the basics of the song is try starting some of that bullshit like you did in the Summer of Love in a little small town and see what the fuck happens. Yeah. Kind of like what I've been saying for a long goddamn time.
I think a lot of people could probably relate to that.
Sure. Now, people have been able to come after this because evidently they have literally brought out the yarn ball and said, look, he filmed this in front of this courthouse where somebody was lynched 300 years ago.
Oh, God.
Or not 300. I'm being hyperbolic. But yeah, they are literally pulling out the fucking yarn and trying to draw this whole fucking... And they're trying to... so you're saying that protesting is the same as this? And yeah, but...
So
I almost want to fucking play the song.
Is CMT going to find out what happens after they pull it from their rotation?
I think they're starting to learn. Because that's just it. Who the fuck does CMT think their goddamn audience is?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You think the audience is triggered?
What the fuck are you doing, you dumb shits? This would be like CMT going like, you know what? We're not going to play country music anymore. We're only going to play polka. Like you might be CMT. Yeah, you might keep some of your original audience, but guess what? You lose a majority of them motherfuckers.
I'm sorry. Beer, like who do you think beer's audience is? This is even more intense.
That's the same. Yeah, this is like Bud Lighting this thing. But look, Jason Aldean come out with this song, and I would like to play it. I don't know if they'll strike us down or whatever.
Probably would strike you down. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. But
country
yeah,
it's not worldwide
blocked unless it's the music video. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he goes, in the past 24 hours, I've been accused of releasing a pro-lynching song, a song that has been out since May, mind you, and was subject to the comparison that I direct quote, was not too pleased with the nationwide BLM protest. These references are not only meritless, but dangerous. There's not a single lyric in the song that references race or points to it. And there isn't a single video clip that isn't real news footage. And while I can try to and respect others to have their own interpretation of the song with music, this one goes too far. In fact, I'm with Jason on this. This says far more about the people that are protesting this song than it does anything else. And this, my friends, is the beginning of the final read. We are in it. It is happening. They are literally digging for ticks at this point to try and go after. Because like I'm glad you guys were all like, who? Because if you don't know fucking country music, like diehard country music, you don't know who the fucking Jason Aldean is.
No clue.
That's I'm glad you guys had that. And even Nick don't fucking know. Holy shit. And you live in the goddamn country shit kicking heartland with me, man.
Yep, I do. I'm in the fucking boonies. I should
Let me tell you what we deal with here. Nick will know exactly what I'm saying here. if you get outside of Chicago, Madison, Milwaukee, you get lucky if you can pull in 5 channels and all of them are fucking country.
Yup.
That's
And
where
there's
you're at here.
Lot of John Deeres you get held up by.
What the fuck are they thinking?
That sounds horrible.
But yeah, I mean, try that in a small town has lyrics that include, and this is the thing, Deadline, Variety, all of these motherfuckers have gone after this song now. Nobody probably even heard of this song since, like, that's what he was saying. Because I even went and looked, the song hasn't even racked up that many views yet. I mean, it's a decent amount of views, but like for a song that they're making a big fuss over that's been out for 2 months. Anyway, cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on a flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough? Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. That's, one of the lines in the song.
Okay.
And then got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're gonna round up. Well, that shit ain't gonna fly in the city. That shit might fly in the city. Good luck. Yeah, it's just lyrics like that. It's basic country fucking redneck loving stuff.
I mean, they're terrible lyrics, but I don't see any real problem.
Exactly. Like, it's not like it's a fucking Grammy winning song or anything I'm talking about, but like, it's not that fucking harmful either. Like, they're making a big stink out of it because that was the thing. They didn't even see this fucking video till now. Now they're making a big. They literally had to draw these really shit comparisons to this whole fucking thing that happened years and 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 years ago. I mean, the song's just a song at the end of the day. Go ahead and check it out, guys, if you want to, if you're interested. I know there's probably not a lot of country fans, but you're pretty basic country song, man. I mean, yeah.
It applies reasonably to Canada too, like a small town in Alberta, Saskatchewan.
Small towns anywhere, they're very similar all over the place. I've lived in like 6. Well, one thing I have seen a few times is that if you live in a really, really small town, if you happen to know the police officers that work there, you get away with pretty much murder because they're just like, well, it was a bad day because they know each other really well. But,
that's true, actually.
I gotta imagine a lot of like, well, whatever. It's just
no. I'm serious. Like, I mean, I'm not advocating it, but if you want to commit a very serious crime, a small town is a very prime place to do so because they just don't want to deal with it.
Well, that or you're just gonna fuck around and find out.
Well, no, I'm talking like, a serious crime, not like a dumb crime where you can get caught easily, like a serious crime. They will not. They do not want to deal with
what
it.
People think they can get away with in a small town area, but people talk. That's the other thing too.
Well, that's the thing. Is like it's like small towns, like the Gulf Islands in BC. I joke about it sometimes. It's like some of those islands are so small, they don't even have a police officer. They have one who comes in for a couple months in the summer.
Yeah,
but it's also so small that everybody knows what everybody is doing, and if you don't toe the line, you get kind of
exactly. Like, I'll tell you a perfect example of what I'm getting at. There's this little freaking branch of a bank that is in this perfect area to get robbed because you literally have 4 directions you can go, and even go one of those directions and double back around, and nobody would see you, so the cops would have no fucking clue where you're at by the time they got any, word out. So somebody did rob them one day. Got away with it. They would have if it wasn't such a small area and people fucking talk. And eventually it got back to the cops who it was. It didn't take long, right? Like, that's the thing, it's just one of those things. Now, if you're right, Script, if you come from a bigger area, you could maybe get away with it. But at this point, you've got so many cameras and shit on every fucking light pole anymore that, especially if they see some out of town fucking plates or whatever, like, it's not going to matter unless you steal a car and drop it somewhere. Like, you really have to plan it, even a small area. I mean,
the other part too, there's a lot of unsolved murders.
Because plus the cops have nothing to do.
Well, hold on. I was saying there's a lot of unsolved murders that happen in a small town where if you looked a little objectively, it's clearly the spouse that did it, but the cops have said, oh, it looks like natural causes. So they're just going to leave it alone.
There's possibly that. But like, here's the thing.
Like on TV where everything is always solved.
I mean, I live in an area where literally we have had, I think, 1 murder in the entire 50 years I lived there, almost now, and even beyond my life, because I'd have to go stretch back and look, and I specifically know which one. So yeah, it'd be about 50 years in between murders in that town, and one was more of an accident than an actual murder. ish.
More like manslaughter.
Yeah, it was kind of it was like a stupid kid was shooting windows out of the house and didn't know somebody was in the house.
Oh.
Kind of thing.
Dang.
And like, yeah. So it's like, and even that, like there was even the closest we had was one time there was a lady that froze outside. Somebody thought she had gotten in an argument with somebody and somebody locked them out of the house or knocked her out and she fell down and died that way. But no, it was just her. She was drunk and she fell down. That was the best they could come up with because they had cameras up on the one thing. But like, it's like, yeah, like I live in an area where none of that shit happens. And that's the thing. Nobody can get away with kicking the shit out of their wives or anything like that because everybody knows about it and they deal with it. Like that's where you get vigilante justice or what do you want to call it, frontier justice, basically. It's like if word gets around, you're kicking the shit out of your wife or your girlfriend, a couple of good old boys will come take you out and show you what for. And trust me, you won't do it again. Like that's the kind of shit that happens around here. Like we don't have to deal with the cops all that much. And the cops are kind of cool with a lot of shit too, because they know we ain't gonna put up with it. And so they only put up with what they need to deal with, and that's it. And I can't remember the last time we've had a major crime where we've had armed robbery. We'll have break-ins and shit all the time. But like that kind of shit is usually figured out pretty quick. It's always some idiot kid who has everything in a fucking garage somewhere. So like, you know what I mean? It's 9 times out of 10 what happens. And that's probably the worst thing the cops have to deal with around here is accidents and that kind of shit. Really. And drunk fuckers and they got to chase them down. Like, you go online, you can find plenty of fucking videos of drunk fuckers getting chased down online. It's like, yeah, that's all that happens around here. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's wrap this up, even though we still have 690 of you watching, and I can't believe that. We have more of you watching now than the Brie Larson thing. Right there just goes to show you what kind of cancer Brie Larson is there. Because I can't remember who said it earlier in the chat, but they were right. Yes, we were losing viewers. And we gained them all back now since we quit watching it. So thank gosh.
Yeah, thank you to YouTube's preview where they say, "Oh, it's not on the screen anymore." Okay, I'll click back.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few people like, "I'm muted," so they're just waiting for it to be over. Now that just shows you there's no interest in this. There's anti-interest in this. Yeah, pretty much. Clobby, what you got going on?
Well, nothing tonight, oddly enough, but tomorrow night I'll be hanging with on Comic Roundtable with the great Loki on his channel at 7 Central, and then my channel later at 9 Central for the Wildcard Wednesday night, hanging out with you guys again Thursday night, and then back to my channel again Thursday night for the Clubhouse with Raquel and Mark. And then, of course, there is, Nick will talk about what he's got going on Friday night, but Saturday night Star Trek continuing, just started reviewing all of Star Trek Voyager from the very beginning. God help us.
Oh, God. You have to start cataloging all the times Janeway contradicts herself from episode to episode.
That's a good, we'll make like a feature, right? We can make that into like
yeah.
a special feature type thing. Good point. Thank you.
Oh, dude. I mean, I have lots of friends who have huge Star Trek fans. Are like, first of all, you got the great actress playing the character, but you have terrible writing for her for all 7 seasons.
Quite a bit. yeah. Oh, Vic Fontaine, the big on J-Man's channel, the big Batman 66 celebration on Friday night before I go on with Nick and the gang on his channel. So yes, sir. So thanks for having me, Tom. Appreciate it, and great to see you all in the chat and on the panel.
Always glad to have you here, my friend. And speaking of Toxic Tuesdays, Nick Weiser's got Toxic Tuesday coming up with, was it Way of the Dragon you showing tonight?
Yes, sir.
We're talking about, I should say.
45 minutes at 7:45 p.m. currently on Central Time. So 7:45 and 45 minutes. It's the last movie of the Chuck Norris month. And, of course, it's Bruce Lee's movie. And it's going to be our last one after that, we'll be taking 3 weeks off. And then we'll be back in 3 weeks with Hard Target. So, yeah, come hang out with us. And, yeah, it'll be nice to enjoy some Bruce Lee action because, well,
I know what kind of hard target I'm looking for.
Trust me. In 45 minutes, we're gonna come. Friday night, comic shop.
I'm gonna try and stop in.
No, hey, it'd be great to have you. Final night of our Spider-Man run of the Lee Ditko into Lee Ramita Senior run. D-Bud, who's in the chat, he's been on guesting with us, which has been absolute fun. And I put out a video earlier today on a comic that I've recommended. Check that out before Toxic Tuesday starts. And I'm sure I'll have something out later this week. And of course, you'll find me here Thursday night. Thanks for having me, Tom. And chat, thanks for being excellent. And Wrenches, thank you for being exquisite.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Nick. And CC Karaoke, can you breathe?
Yes, for now.
What is your big plan to freeze the earth?
Well, I got to blot out the sun with all that forest fire smoke, and I think that's going along pretty well right now.
Can you say, chill out?
Chill out.
Not bad. See, I told you it was him.
Totally not my first ever attempt, actually. Yes. But what I got going on, we're going to get back to karaoke this Friday. Last Friday, I couldn't breathe, so we took that week off. But this Friday, I plan on breathing, and we'll get back to singing some karaoke.
Yeah.
And then Saturday is music television at 7 p.m. Eastern.
You can show Jason Aldean's video.
Well, the best part about it, we actually can't, right? As you know, because you show the big artists, and you always get blocked. But these smaller artists are every bit as good. And there's no
Jason's actually a pretty big artist.
Free music television. So it's like,
you're the only one who knew him, and I wasn't surprised because he is a fairly big country artist. But outside of country, ain't nobody knows.
Yeah, and I don't have much country, but I mean, I've come across him. I got a couple of songs, So
he's got a couple of good tunes. I mean, he's not great, but he's all right.
It's all right, More of a Taylor Swift fan if I'm going into that area.
Oh, balls. No. No. I'm a good shit kicker fan. I love me some good twang once in a while. It's like that's why I love like Mexican and polka music. I have a strong fetish for the squeeze box. So
you like the banjos?
No, the squeeze box more so. Banjos are okay. I do like the plucking, but the squeeze box, that's what's in Mexican music too. The squeeze box gets me every time. Or, whatever you want to call it. Weird Al Yankovic plays it too.
You mean the accordion?
Accordion. We call it squeeze box around here. So. Mama's got a squeeze box she wears on her chest. Everybody remember the Who song? Yeah. Anyway, Klobby. What you got going on? Oh, we already did you, didn't we? Who was left? Script Doctor's left. That's who's left. Script. What you got going on? You did a stream this morning.
I did. I went through all the proposals that SAG-AFTRA presented to the AMPTP. I think
say that 5 times fast.
That.
Ooh, you smart ass.
Listen, based on my perusing of that agreement, it doesn't look like SAG was asking for anything unreasonable. And in fact, actually, a couple of the unreasonable things they did ask for, the AMPTP agreed to. And that has more to do with like health care and affirming care and things of that nature, which I'm looking at that. I'm like, if you could just word everything you want with regards to affirming of that, maybe the AMPTP will bow into it because that's their ideology that they've been pushing. That could end it.
There you go. Yeah, and hopefully this comes to a swift ending, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
If this breaks past September, I'll be moderately surprised, but not shocked.
Right. And then we got What's Your First Thought with another Canadian 5 and says, sorry guys, I kind of worded that oddly. No, we figured it out. That's okay. I'm cooking and typing at the same time, but you got there at the end. Cheers. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Then we got the Elusive. Thank you for the $10. Says, here's a topic for you guys. Have you seen the trailer for Gareth Edwards' new film, The Creator? It's a sci-fi for $86 million. It looks incredible. Even Mr. H blew up about how good it looked. Yes, I talked about it with Mr. H earlier. And as I said there, it is the coolest looking Gareth Edwards film he's ever done. It's coolest Gareth Edwards film. Coolest Neil Blomkamp film that Gareth Edwards ever done is what I was trying to say. God damn it.
Yes, but it's probably going to be way more boring because unfortunately Gareth Edwards is not a very...
That's what I'm afraid of.
Listen, I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. I know exactly what the story is going to do beat for beat. I'm going to be literally 90 minutes ahead of it the entire time. I'm not wasting my time. Sorry, Gareth, try harder. good
Yeah,
for
I'm sorry.
props to your special effects team and cinematographers. They're doing the heavy lifting there.
It looks interesting. I'll probably watch it, but I see where script's coming from. This is my fear, is that it will be boring.
AI is not bad. That's the message of the movie.
Well, that'd be a weird message right now. But sorry, guys, I'm stumbling over my words and stuttering because I'm starting to get low blood sugar. But yeah, I don't know. It might be good. It might not be. It looks a lot like a Neil Blomkamp movie more than it does a Gareth Edwards movie, though. But yeah, that was my joke that I fucked up. But yeah, they did it for 86 million, and that's because they minimized the crew as much as possible. And clearly they didn't change the plan when it came to the CGI, because yeah, the CGI in the trailer looks good so far. So I mean, good for them. Hopefully it's a hit. And then we got Scribe Light. How you doing, buddy? Larry Bernard's also here, and he sends in 10. Thank you. And says it's almost how overspending leads to decline in film qualities. Read the creator. And there isn't anything wrong with a movie doing the obvious thing well. Yeah, there's that too. And that's what I liked about The Samaritan and some other films once in a while.
Well, I mean, The Samaritans did have some inventive aspects to it, but they tried to make it look like it wasn't coming. The creator.
My point was though is that it's like very, very obvious what was going to happen in that, but like
there's a threshold where it becomes so obvious it ends up being boring, and that's the breaking rule number 1, which is don't be boring.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much, and well, like that's just it. If it's a movie that thinks its own farts don't stink, then we got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be fun. Maybe it's decent. I'll let you guys know when I check it out. I think it's coming to theaters, right? It's not a streaming movie. So it's a Fox movie. It's a Disney movie too, on top of it all. But yep, I gotta go get some food. I gotta go to the store here anyway. So
get some food.
That's right. Thank you so much, House of Trades, who says I saw a mission this weekend. They're falling, into the same pit as Bond. Less tech. The stunts were well done, but average. They have to bring in more tech. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I liked it all right, but I mean, outside of the first one, the only ones I really cared for were the 2 that had Lane in them, and that was it. Which would be that bad guy that ran that other anti-MI group.
Huh?
He ran the
Seymour Hoffman.
No.
Oh, the other one.
Or was that him? No, I thought that was Lane that did that.
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I remember you were talking about it the other night.
Who's Lane?
Yeah.
I just remember you were talking about it the other night. I don't know. I never
the second movie?
No, it's like the 5th and 6th one.
Oh, Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation.
Yeah, Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what they called themselves, but they were like the anti IMF.
I can't remember the name either, but I do know. I don't know why.
The Syndicate. That's what it was. Yeah,
I remembered. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That one of the only ones I really liked. I mean, these are okay, but
the water scene,
the Syndicate stories
the
were
toxic scene in there.
Yeah, the Syndicate stories are BS. They're basically saying we're being told that these guys are really bad, and it's like, okay, show us what they do that's bad. Oh no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep telling you that they're bad, and we want to get them.
Well, Lane actually had the plan with his whole, like, you know, he had basically like the Ozymandias plan, basically.
Yeah, kind of.
Destroy a bunch of shit and it brings people together. That was his whole thing. Yeah.
It's weird. I've read so many stories like that around that time. It was so weird.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying they're the best of.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it let me down because why I liked him as a bad guy is he had Simon Pegg there, basically pegged. It's like you got out of death, and that's where I'm like, dude, is Tom Cruise ever going to lose anybody in these movies anymore that isn't like a brand new character? Because he never has anything to really go. It just didn't. And maybe script gets what I'm saying, because they hang this thing constantly over the movie that it's about, you know, how he's, you know, always worried about his friends. He puts his friends before himself and all that kind of shit, and even sometimes in front of everybody else. Sooner or later, you can't keep saying that and not lose one of your friends.
Yeah.
Right. And it means something, and it be an impact to you. And that is what I feel like the movies have been missing since that first film, because that's what the whole first film was predicated upon, was that, you know, he lost his whole crew and you couldn't know who to fucking trust anymore. And, you know, for him to do what he's been doing these last few films, it's great. But you have this point where he's amping this thing up and he's got to lose somebody sooner or later. not just give up a wife. I mean, actually lose somebody. That was one of the reasons why I hated part 3 is because it was a big fucking cheat. And you're like, okay, that was lame. It'd have been better if he actually killed her. And then they dragged that thing out for the next 2 or 3 movies too. And I was just like, and finally, oh, he's okay once he finds out she's happy.
Oh yeah, Fallout. Yeah. I rewatched Fallout recently. I really enjoy. That's my favorite ones. Fallout.
Yeah, the 5th is my favorite for sure. But I was surprised because it's an increasingly well received franchise. And if you adjust for inflation and it holds its audience, it would be able to flirt with $1 billion, which means that it's really losing its audience here. And I suppose that is par for the course this year. So I was wrong with my expectations on the box office.
I was
wow,
too.
It's
Almost
just not
right
doing
with the
well.
numbers. And you know what, Tom? Hey, I gotta give it to you. When you're right, you're right. So,
Well,
and you've admitted when you're wrong on things before. So, respect to you for that.
Well, oh no, I'm not wrong on 3. It was written by Alex fucking Kurtzman, Paulie. Come on. They had a great actor and they wasted him. Like literally, he's just sitting there through the whole movie, just like, I'm gonna hurt you. It's like, and then they never even get to what the rabbit's foot is.
Of course, you can see that influence go right into 4 as well, and thankfully it kind of diminishes.
Well, 4 had to kind of pick up the fucking pieces of 3. That tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because even 4, they're like telling you, yeah, we really should have killed this bitch in the last one, but guess what? Now we're stuck with her.
Well, they were
at first
possibly expecting 3 to actually close off the movie, the series itself, and just be a trilogy and end it there. And Tom Cruise was like,
be happy,
not received it well enough. We got to make another one.
And I get it, because like they were setting his character up to be happy, and then and that's what pissed me off through most of that 4th film was I'm like, did they literally kill her off in between? What the fuck is that all about? And then you find out the twist at the end, and you're like, okay, that's almost stupider. Like, or dumber, or whatever.
Hunt into a cuck, essentially.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, wait a minute here, none of that, and then the whole thing is drug out, like I said, until you finally get to the end of what is it, 5 or 6 or whatever, after Lane's plan doesn't work, and because he's keeps saying he's going to kill her or whatever. That's what Ethan keeps dreaming, and that was the other thing I kept saying is why you keep throwing in this dream of his wife dying, like he doesn't end up losing anybody. Why you keep doing that? Like, it never even gets close to that, really, in the movie. So the only way you can get around that is by actually killing somebody else he doesn't expect, right? Like, that's the only thing I can get. Like, anyway. But Nick had to run.
I agree with Paulie, though. I mean, it's JJ's best film. It's the only thing he's ever done
not
that
a tall fucking order,
second time.
I love you, Paulie. It has nothing to do with personal shit at all. You know, I'm just saying. I've never watched it before. I watched it the other night, and I'm just like, what has everybody been talking about all these years? This is a horrible fucking movie. It is not even, it's actually bad for a Mission Impossible because it's like the outlier of all the films. And I think that's maybe why people like it. I don't know. But it let me down big time. It started out strong and went down, a burning ring of fire.
So like
the 4th film had to pick up the pieces. Yeah, 4th film had to pick up the pieces. And then I believe it's the 5th and 6th film that I like the better as far as the best. Maybe it's the 4th and 5th. So that's the thing. You have a problem once you get to those movies. It's like one feeds into the other, and you have no idea where one ends or begins if you watched them back to back to back. And I'm not the only one who had this problem. Greg over at Fanzine had the same problem, and somebody else I talked to, I can't remember, said the same damn thing. And I think Michael over at Retro Blasting was watching him this last week too, and he was making the same kind of comments.
Well, he was really roasting him. It was great.
Yeah. But I didn't hate the film. I'd give it like a 6 or whatever out of 10. It's an enjoyable film. If you've liked the last however many movies, you'll like it. Even if you haven't seen the last few films, you probably will like it. There's enough there to kind of give you enough to go on, but I feel like you'll get more out of it had you seen the first 6 films, I guess. You know,
I mean,
but yeah.
If I wish one thing about the Mission Impossible series is if they had actually gotten more into the actual like mission, like the first film, when Tom Cruise has to go down and it's temperature sensitive, right? That's tension in a small, quiet space. They've really gone full action.
They traded that,
from the
for the
6th and 7th
stunts.
films.
Yeah.
Yep. And
No,
it's
they've lost what
less
Mission
about
Impossible was.
it's less about that tension that I got a little bit more in the fifth film. They tried to go back to that, I felt, which is why it's my favorite. I still enjoyed the series overall, though. I'd like to see more of that.
You were saying script.
Well, yeah, like the whole premise of the Mission Impossible was to pull off a mission without the people that you are working against knowing about it. And that's where the tension came from. It was the covert aspect of it. I mean, that's what the NOCLA stands for, is non-official covert operatives.
Right.
Like, there's nothing covert about basically parachuting into a moving train in front of a car of people.
Yeah.
Like, you're missing. I mean, and the other part too is like they're not even having as much fun with the masks and posing as other people as you would expect them to. It's really
it's become predictable too.
They've gotten away from it
fantastical.
actually being Mission Impossible anymore. And
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the films, but it's
Like,
not
speaking of
really
Lane, I
that.
literally predicted them using Simon Pegg's character. I forgot his name in the movie, Benji. I predicted them using Benji dressed as Lane to trick Henry Cavill. Like, I was expecting that, and it happened. Like, as I expected it. Like, okay, now I'm getting to the point where I can predict even when you're going to use those masks. So yeah, you're right. There's ultra conveniences in how they use their tech too. That's one thing I will give them, is they're consistent in a lot of their tech, but it's inconsistent sometimes in how they use it, in the amount they use it. It's like, oh, well, wouldn't that have been useful here instead of there, or something like that in some cases. But yeah, like, they have lost that whole idea of the really impossible mission is more like the impossible stunt now. Even though this one, the stunts did at least play into the action of the film, and they weren't a wasted thing in the beginning of the movie that had nothing to do with nothing else, like every other one of the movies. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem with them is they're a lot like the Transformer movies or the Fast and the Furious movies, where they're really the same kind of story beats over and over and over again. It's just you got to keep amping up the stunt at the end of the day. And Nikki D says, I'm predicting that Mission Impossible 7 will probably have a 60% second weekend drop after the domestic box office. This film is mid at best, sad to say. Well, I mean, it's mostly getting positive word of mouth, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll have to see how the second weekend goes with all the competition coming in. If Sound of Freedom hangs in there, that could really stir some shit up in the top 5. So, I mean, imagine this: if Sound of Freedom hangs on where it's at and doesn't go down anywhere, we could have a situation where Barbie, Sound of Freedom, Oppenheimer all come in before Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
That would push Mission Impossible all the way down to the 4th spot in its second weekend. Now, it doesn't mean it won't come back, because there is some, like, culture had been saying, and I think he's right, Oppenheimer might not do the business they're hoping, so IMAX might switch back a lot of screens to Mission Impossible. I can see that happening. That would give it a boost for its 3rd or 4th weekend if they do that, but we'll have to see how it goes. And no, Paulie, like, you're late to the game. As said earlier, a lot of people have been trying to say I have this crusade against Cruise or something like that. No, I am seeing this from the broad perspective. The Hollywood blockbuster is dead. They killed it.
It's killed with big budgets and no substance.
Because when even movies like Mission Impossible, where there's nothing wrong with them, technically, I guess, outside of,
And the market's so starved for just a good popcorn flick. And it is. MI7 is good enough to be that, at the very least. I mean, even if it's not the best thing ever, it's...
What I'm saying is nobody's going to anything right now. Barbie might even underperform at this point. But Oppenheimer, they're predicting 50 million opening weekend. If that happens, if it doesn't go above that, Paulie, I can see them then pulling screens back for Mission Impossible. And that's especially if Mission Impossible has a good second weekend hold. Like, that could also happen. Like, we could sit here and Barbie would be the top spot, Mission would be 2, Sound of Freedom, then Oppenheimer. Well, then definitely they're switching over back to Mission Impossible for the big screens. So anyway, script has to get going here, but we have I think we have a couple more super chats here.
Already.
You did this one already? Okay, so we're good. We're good. We're done. All right. So I just wanted to make sure we got everybody's done here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Let me double check, make sure I didn't miss any member chats, and I don't think I have. So I think we're good. We got the Captain Phantom. We're good. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Check out everybody's channel. We'll see you on the flip side. See you.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Where's my button?